Hello everyone, welcome to today's masterclass on automated scenarios with Make.com. Hello everyone, by Nehemiah STEM Research. So maybe just to give you a brief introduction or two what Make.com is. Make.com is a powerful automation platform that connects apps and services. Today's masterclass on automated scenarios. It allows you to automate repetitive tasks and build custom workflows without writing a single line of code. So here are some of the words or terminologies that I'll be using through this masterclass. Just to give you a brief introduction or two at make.com is a brief definition about what each term means and what it does that connects up. So the main word we have for today is a scenario. A scenario is a workflow automation that connects different apps and services to perform a series of actions based on triggers. So what's a trigger? Trigger is an event that starts a scenario. For example, receiving an email or receiving a message or a new form submission. And then an action is a task performed after the trigger. Basically, what happens after the trigger is what an action is. Such as sending a message, it allows you to automate repetitive tasks. A module is a building block without writing a single line of code. A scenario is made up of modules, so those are like the building blocks. A module is a building block that performs a specific function like fetching data or terminology processing information. And then you have what we call a router. A router allows you to create multiple paths in a scenario about what each term means, what it does, like make branches. So the main word we have for today is a scenario. A scenario is a workflow in a scenario automation that connects different apps and services. And then a filter ensures that only specific data passes through to the next module. What's a trigger? Like if you want some specific data to pass through, for example, receiving an email, a filter. Or receiving a message introduction, I can now or a new form to submission make.com and show you. And then an action, each of those is a specific data to pass through. When you go to make.com, a filter. Or receiving a message introduction, I can now or allow you to sign up for free and show you. And then an action, and then this will be your specific data to pass. When you go to make.com, this is where you build your scenarios from. Or receiving a message introduction, I can now or allow you to sign up for free and show you. And then an action, and then this is how you add triggers. When you go to make.com, this is where you build your scenarios from. Okay, maybe this is how you add your triggers and your model. Allow you to sign up for basically for building. And then big purple plus sign. This is how you add triggers. Today, when you go to make.com, this is where you build your scenarios from. Okay, maybe this is how you add your triggers and your model. Allow you to sign up for basically for building. And then big purple plus sign. This is how you add triggers. Today, when you go to make.com, this is where you build your scenarios from. Okay, maybe this is how you add your triggers and your model. Sign up for basically for building. The message introduction, I can or allow you to sign up for free. Go and show you then an action. Okay. So like we discussed earlier, we usually start a scenario with a trigger. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up a trigger, and this trigger will be watching for updates. And like I said, what we're building today is a Telegram bot that receives updates or a question or a message, and then it sends back a reply. So to start the scenario off, you need to set up a trigger. So for this example, we click this plus sign when we choose Telegram bot. And then we scroll, or we can search here, watch updates. So this is our trigger. What our trigger is doing is it's watching for updates. So I've clicked it. This is now what a trigger is. And now why it's asking for a webhook, we need to set up a connection between our Telegram bot and this workstation here, this trigger where we've called it from. So how do you do that? So you go to Telegram, so when Telegram launches, Telegram has an inbuilt So like I was saying, Telegram has an inbuilt tool that enables you or helps you create those Telegram bots, which we're going to be calling from here. And that tool is called Bot Father, this one here. So I was saying, if you're new to the platform and you don't know how to find it, you can just go to the search bar up here and search Bot Father, and make sure it's the one with the blue check mark, this one. Yeah. So when you click on that, it will open this chat. This message box here or chat box won't be available the first time you open it. All you'll find is this message up here, and it's like an opening manual sort of. So what you'll find here is the word start. It's like a button, so when you click it, that's what this message comes here. That's what comes here, start. Yeah, so when we click start, there's a bunch of settings here, and these are like guidelines on how to set up the bot. As you can see here, it's telling us that we can control it by sending these commands. These are the commands, the ones with the /. See, / new bot, that's what helps you create a new bot. / my bots, that's how you edit the bots that you've created. So you can have more than one Telegram bot active on Telegram. So if you want to edit them, you use this command. So first, now today we're creating a new one. So I can either click on this right here, or I can just type it in the chat box here. I'll click on it, and you can see it responds immediately with this message saying, how are we going to call it? Please choose a name. I'm going to choose it based on the sample company name that I've already made. So I'll call it Serenity. So then it says good. Now let's choose a username for your bot. In case you have any questions, you could send them in the chat, in the live chat. I'll be able to see them. So now it's asking me for a username. So there's a name and then there's a username. The username is like the ID. Like I've been saying in the previous classes, like you can have a profile on Instagram. There's the profile name and then the username. The username is usually how other services like locate you, basically. So and then it's saying it must end in bot, so the username has to end with the word bot. And then it gives you examples. You can use a mixture of lowercase and uppercase, or just lowercase letters but with the underscore before the word bot. So I'm going to choose lowercase and then an underscore and say Serenity bot. Alright, it says the username is already taken. I can try something else. Right, so after a few tries, I ended up getting a username that was accepted, and then it sent this congratulatory message, and then it says this is where we can find our bot. So if I click this link, it will take me directly to the bot that we've just created, and then it provides this access token. This token is important because what we're going to use to connect to this trigger that we've created here in make.com, right? Yeah. So if I click on this, you can see the bot is here. It's called Serenity. And like I said, like when you open bot further for the first time, this is the button you'll find in the chat when you open it for the first time. So if I click start, then I'm able to send other commands. So right now the bot has been created. We have an access token. So now what make.com was asking for is all here in this access token or in this message. So it's asking, just move this to the side. It's asking for a hook. So we have to add that hook. I'm going to call this Serenity in the connection name. Why I'm setting a connection name, because as we keep building this scenario and adding more Telegram modules, the connection has to be the same so that they can communicate with each other. So that's why we have to choose a connection name so that it's easy to identify. So if you're a person like me who has created a number of scenarios here already, you'll find that some of the connections are already saved. So if you, let's say I put this Serenity and then in another module I use another connection, my scenario won't work as intended because the modules are not communicating because they're on different connections. So that's what the connection name is important for. So like I said, this token that we got here, if I click on it, it copies it to the clipboard, and that's what you put here in the token field. I can just paste that there and save. You can see it's loading, wait for that. And now the connection is set, and then we can save and save again. So right now we've set up a trigger, we've set up its connection, and it's connected to this bot Serenity. That's how we know that it's connected. So right now all the bot is doing is it's watching updates like we've set it up here in this scenario. It's just a trigger. All we have is a trigger in this scenario, and the trigger is it watches updates. So if I save the scenario and then click run once, I can actually test it to see if it's actually watching the updates. And it's successful. It has turned green. It has returned for us this bundle. The bundle, as you can see, contains the message. Yep, the message is right here. So if you expand all these variables from the bundle, you'll see all the details. These details will be important later, but for now what we're doing was testing to see if it's actually watching updates like we set it up to do. So like I said, I have a sample company, just a small example of a company here. It's called Serenity Salon and Spa. They offer haircuts, manicures, facial massages, or whatever. This is just an example. Yep. So this is the information we're going to feed the bot with, or train the bot with, and then we will prompt it and then see if it will return data back to us based on this information. So that's the goal of today. So let's say we can call this a Telegram customer support chatbot. So let's say Serenity Serenity Salon and Spa wants to be able to respond to clients at any time of the day, because with humans, sometimes people want to sleep, but someone can be asking them a question like at 4 a.m. when they aren't awake and maybe they need an urgent reply. So this kind of workflow will make that simple or easy for Serenity Salon and Spa. So what's the next step now? Right now we can confirm that it's actually receiving the messages. So now we need to pass back information into it. But first we need to train it. What I mean by training is we're going to add another module which is for OpenAI, or what you normally call ChatGPT, and then train that ChatGPT model to respond with the information we give it, and then send back the responses it gives to Telegram back as a reply to the messages this trigger receives. So right next to this Telegram trigger, which is watching updates, there's a plus sign and it's saying add another module. So what we have to do is you can either search another key piece of information I can tell you is that for such automations or usages, when you're using, like, you can see how when you go to ChatGPT and then you're able to use it for free, like you can send it questions and it will respond. In this case, because you're using, in this usage, you have to the tokens that you're going to use in responses. So when you go to platform.openai.com, this is where we get the API key, which is how we'll connect it to this. So if I click this, and the action, like we said in the presentation, the action is what the module is going to do. What action do we want to do is we want it to create a completion from a prompt. That is, create a completion for a prompt or chat. So yeah, welcome back. The stream had gone off for a bit, but this is where we are right currently. We're training our bot with ChatGPT so that it can be able to respond to questions or frequently asked questions from a customer. So as I was saying, for such usages, you can't use ChatGPT for free to generate such responses or responses you need. As you can see here, there's this field that's saying tokens. So this is how you set up the connection. When you click the module, this is where you set up the connection, and this is where you also map the data. Mapping means when we get a message from here or information from here, how are we mapping it is what message from our ChatGPT module and what is it going to do with that information. So that's what mapping means. So if I click on it again, I have to set up a connection. Now, when you're using this for the first time, all these fields will be blank, but what they do very well is they give you some brief descriptions of what the fields do and how to set up those connections. So you click this button, add, and then you'll see this form where you'll be setting up the connection from. So you see it asks for a connection name, the API key, and organization ID. And you can see here, like I was saying before, it says to view. So you can see I have some few dollars here, and it's pay as you go. So you'd not be paying a monthly fee. You just put a certain amount of money there, and then every time you use tokens, this money will start reducing. So maybe you want to know how much. These fields will be blank if it's your first time. So if you click this link, it will redirect you here. This is where you click this. See, so we have our key generated. So we can copy this and bring it back here. This is where you paste it. I'll paste it here. And then this is an already set organization ID. It's but you can see it already provides a link here for you where to find it again also. So if I click that, right, you can see this is where, so you can just copy that and then paste it here and then click save. Wait for it to load and set up the connection. Once that's done, the method was the same that we chose in the beginning, which was to create a chat completion. And then we have to choose a model. These are all the models from ChatGPT currently. I will choose to use the latest. So if I search around here, I'll choose the latest system. Wait for it to load there. And then I'll set a max number of completion tokens. So like I said, if you read through these, you will see what if the values are high, a lot of credit will be used, like I showed you before in the credit that I have. So I'll just reduce this. But if the values are too low, the output will be truncated. So I'll give it a value of like 500. And then now we have to map the data that we receive from the trigger to this model. So when I click add a message and I have to choose a role of this agent. I'm going to set it up as a user. And then come to this field where it says text content. So this is now where I will put the other information. But I won't just paste it there because I have to tell the agent exactly what to do with this information. So when I click that, you can see it brings this bundle from the trigger. You expand on message and then look for text. As you can see, it's labeled with good afternoon. This one. So I'm going to tell this chat GPT that you are a assistant. Respond to the customers. And I'll just click that. That's how I map. So I'm telling the bot that it's a customer support assistant, and I want to tell it to respond to this message, and that's the customer's text. Let me use a playful tone. Using the information of the company below. So right now all it knows is it's a customer support assistant, but it doesn't know for which company. So I can be more detailed here. The more detail I add here, the better results I'll get for Serenity Salon and Spa. Is that right? Yes. I can just copy all this. and paste that here. So this is how I've trained ChatGPT. Yeah, I've trained it to be a customer support assistant. Only that, this text. So it's going to understand everything here. And I click save. So yeah, we've trained our agent or AI agent with information about the company and what its role is as the agent. It's a customer support assistant. So if I send a message right now just to test, actually I didn't run the scenario, so nothing. It didn't listen because the scenario wasn't active. So I can either set this to immediately as data arrives, or I can click run once again. Say good evening. So as you can see, we have two bundles again. The trigger received the message good evening, and our chat GPT has also returned some information, as you can see here. Right. This is the result, but if we go and check here the bot, there's nothing returned back. That means our scenario or workflow isn't complete. So right now, the trigger is receiving information. The agent or the chat GPT module is getting that information. It's being passed here. We told it what to do with it. It has generated the content, but it's just staying here. So we need to add another module whereby whatever is generated from here is sent back to Telegram or sent back to us. And now, as you can see here, this connection name, like I said earlier, is different from this. Which is called Serenity. So we need to make sure that is correct. So if I open this, expand this, I'll find it down here, Serenity. So I have to make sure that connection is the same as this. Otherwise, if I choose another connection, receive a trigger, ChatGPT does its work, and then maps that information to this bot, this one won't receive because the connection is different from this. So we need to make sure that the connection is the same. And then it's asking for a chat ID. So you'll ask what a chat ID is or where to find it, and you can see the value can't be empty. So Where do I find it? If I go back to this, where the trigger was, and I expand the bundle, you can see there's an ID right here. This one. So I'll just copy this and paste that here. And then the text, that's how we're going to map what we're receiving from ChatGPT into this bot. So when you click this, it brings this. The latest model in your scenario is always the first one on top, and the latest or the previous one is the ChatGPT model. So where do we find that content that it's generating? We expand this band or variable called choices, go to message, expander, and then you choose content. So I'll just click that, and as simple as that, we have mapped the information from the ChatGPT to the Telegram bot, and then we can click save. We can save this as well. So now we have a trigger. It listens, passes that information here. This is passed on to here, and then what its action is, it's to send a text message or a reply. So I'll click run once and then test it again. I'll just say hello there. And we have a response now. So because I told it to be playful, that's why you're saying all this. I told it to use a playful tone. That's why you're seeing all these emojis and the sort of, playful language like and all that. So maybe I'll ask it a question like, I need a haircut. Or, okay, not a question. I'll just say I need a haircut. Oh, so you're wondering maybe why it's not responding. It's because, again, it's set to run once. So I'll set this to immediately as data arrives. I'll maybe just delete all data. Okay, maybe I'll just save it as that. And I'll send the message again. It should respond. Let's see. Yeah, that's passing on. Yes. Okay, it's not receiving. Maybe I'll click run once again and see. Okay, so it has responded after clicking run once. Oh, okay. This was the issue. I have other scenarios working in the background. That's why it wasn't accepting for immediately data arrives. So that's maybe one of the cons of using, or the disadvantages of using a free account. So for the purpose of the lesson, I'm just going to deactivate this. Set it to immediately data arrives. Save. Okay, now it has sent all the, because I told it to reprocess the old data. That's why it's spamming the checks up as a bot, and then customers can respond to this as your like assistant to any FAQs they may have. Yeah, I believe if there are any questions, I don't know if there are any questions in the chat. So maybe you ask, how will customers find this bot if it doesn't really have a number? So this is, remember when we were creating the bot, so you can share this link with them. Yeah, whenever you share this link with someone, if they click, they'll be redirected to this chat, and this is where they can ask all those frequently asked questions they may have about your company. As long as you train it right, and you have the scenario set to immediately as data arrives, it will always respond immediately as soon as information comes. So thank you everyone for joining us. I believe this is where I will be stopping to